something that just blew my mind, is having things organized by aisle whenever you go to the grocery store. So if y'all have any tips like that, I'd love to hear your tips after I give you my personal meal prepping process. So good morning, Dodie. Good morning,
Morning.
Lisa and Jason. All right, and Robbie, I'm so glad you're here. Um, let's see,
I
filling
I
in.
have one. I had one to suggest.
Yeah,
Sorry,
go
I
ahead,
interrupted
Janet.
you.
Yeah, go ahead, Janet.
So I've discovered that the HEB app is the most efficient way to grocery shop. So
Yes.
I've started just putting, I don't even a lot of times have a paper list anymore. As you run out of things or things you think of, I just put it in my phone immediately. And then when I go in, I really try to just stick to the grocery list, and it takes you from the beginning to the end, aisle by aisle, and just no wasted time in the grocery store.
Oh my gosh, I need to look at that. So I normally use the app to figure out what aisle something's in, and then I
Yes.
jot that down. But I didn't realize you could make a grocery list, and then you can access it whenever you're there to buy groceries, and you just hit.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, that's
Yes.
so nice.
I will tell you
Okay.
that Walmart's doesn't do that. Walmart's app will show you where it is, but it won't organize it
It
aisle
won't
by
do.
aisle from produce to, pharmacy over in the end.
Oh, that's so nice. And
Yeah.
then with curbside too, I know that's great. And I think if you order a day in advance, it's free. I've never personally done curbside, but it sounds like a game changer if you just want to skirt really quick on your way home and just have someone pile it in, and then for you to take off to your home. That sounds like a great option too. But for me personally, yeah, I typically walk in because I like looking at what I'm getting and picking things out, which is probably inefficient. So I'll need to look at the HEB app. So I'm writing that one down for me personally.
I'm like you. The curbside, I've used it once or twice. I actually like Walmart's curbside way better, and it is never crowded. But anyway, I I don't want people substituting stuff for me. And if they don't have that, I want to be able to look. And a lot of times, I'll just pick birthday card, and stick that in because I know I need to hit the birthday card aisle.
Right.
Sometimes I'll just pick milk and know that I need the kind of milk that I need, right?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I like to look at things. And sometimes the broccoli is great, sometimes it's really bad. If it's great, I want 10 of them. As y'all know, I love broccoli, but if it's kind of soggy and gross, I really don't want 10.
So
So I like
we've had
making those.
that we've had that happen. So like meat and I don't know,
Yes.
strawberries,
Yeah.
produce, they've gotten the crappy looking. There's like rotten strawberries or the meat's not, not picking the good steaks or whatever out. So we don't typically do that on the curbside.
Exactly.
Oh, and that's a
And
lot of what they eat. So, a lot of times, so we're just like going. We got a
right.
routine. Usually goes while I'm at work. I go to work real early and usually go in the morning, right?
I go at 6. I go to
Yeah.
HEB at 6 o'clock on Thursday
It's
morning.
not crowded. It's super early.
Yes.
Easy to
6
get
is
in.
great. Don't go at noon on Sunday or 1 p.m. on Sunday. That is a nightmare. But Jason, since you brought up meat, that reminds me, sometimes like looking at sales can really help. And I think sometimes on the app you can look at sales, but if I'm like walking through the meat aisle and if I see a 25% off sticker on something like on the ground turkey, even if I was planning on getting ground chicken, I will grab that ground turkey if it's, half off, 25% off. So making good on deals sometimes requires a little bit of flexibility. And so we can work that in our discussion on meal prepping. But let's dive into my personal process and then just make this process your own. And I'd love to hear tips that y'all have learned along the way. But what I like to first do is just to look at my week and get a feel for what meals am I going to eat out versus what meals am I personally going to be responsible for providing at home. So on this Japan trip, it's especially now that we just have a microwave. Whenever we had a stove, y'all saw that I was cooking some salmon and things like that. With a microwave, you can still make meals. So y'all have seen my frozen seafood and green beans, and I really love that. But this week has definitely been a going out type of week. So I haven't been doing this week, but in general, looking to see what meals you're responsible for at home and which ones you plan on cooking for versus the ones you plan on having out, just kind of mapping out the week. So if you know that the kiddos are going to have a soccer game in the evening, it might not be realistic to also have a home cooked meal. It might make more sense to eat out. And so plan for that. Or if it's going to be a late day at work, if you and your significant other want to have a meal out and dine out, then that's cool too. So just deciding what meals you're going to cook at home and then what you're going to eat out. And then from there, hopefully you have a family menu kind of created. A lot of times whenever it's supper time and you're wondering what's for dinner, that's typically not the best time to start planning. And sometimes my mind goes blank on like, what do we eat? Or having the same old. If you want to change things up, you typically need to plan for that. So I would definitely recommend having at least like 3 go-to meals of things that you have on hand and that your family really likes. And if you don't have a family menu yet, then I would definitely recommend you work on that. But just have some recipes that you know that your family really likes. And then from there, I would go a step further. And once you decide what meals you're going to have out versus what you're going to have in, then go a step further to decide, okay, what are those meals going to be? So for example, on Friday night, I know we're going to eat out. Maybe if you know you're going to Los Cabos, I used to work at this Mexican restaurant, it's great in Brenham. But if you know you're going to eat out, then that'd be a great time to like look over the menu just so you're not put on the spot, as we've talked about before. I personally don't make the best decisions whenever I am really hungry. And I can feel a little bit pressured to make a decision really fast. So sometimes looking at the menu beforehand and deciding on that when you're not hungry can be a great way to set yourself up for success. And then if you know at home what your menu is going to look like, then you know that you need to make a grocery list for those set items. So if you're planning on having dinner at home Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and you want a salmon dinner and then a steak dinner, and then you're going to repeat that salmon dinner, for example, that'll help you know how much of each ingredient you'll need. So then from there, once you have your meals planned out, then make a grocery list. So what I personally like to do is I like to write down everything that I'm going to need. And then I look at what I actually have and cross off those items from my grocery list. So if I have a salmon dinner and a steak dinner in front of me, I write down everything that I'm going to need. And then like Janet said, maybe you have the HEB app and you just add everything to the HEB app. But then from there, look at what you have and then cross everything that you have off of your list. So that you have a final grocery list of things that you'll need. And for me, I like to plan for the week and then freeze what I need to. But a lot of things last quite a bit. So that's what I personally like to do. And then from there, I just batch cook. So I normally cook at least all of my meats. That's what takes the most time if I'm going to bake anything, or if you're roasting vegetables, I like to do that all together. So that when it comes to mealtime, all I have to do is grab the cooked meat that's already done, any roasted veggies, and then you can add any kind of like fresh veggies you want. One thing I know that Robbie, you're asking about like how to change things up. Great ways to do that are having different sauces. And a great thing about sauce is you can have fun with different condiments and different things. And if it doesn't turn out, you didn't add it to a whole meal, so, to where like you have to throw out the entire meal. But if you have a sauce that you don't like, it's pretty easy to discard that without ruining like an entire meal that didn't turn out great. So a sauce is a really great way to do it. And then if you want to go a step further, which I personally haven't started adding this in until just recently, are different like garnishes. So like pickled carrots or pickled onions. There's something marinated hard-boiled eggs. I did that a couple times, and then here in Japan it's really popular, but those are super good. So adding a hard-boiled egg like on top of a pasta dish or ramen is great, but if it's marinated, it takes it to a whole other level. So you can have some garnishes and sauces on hand to kind of change up your meals. But that is kind of big picture, the meal prep process. And I'd like to break down some of these steps in the weeks to come, but I just want to give you like a overall big picture idea of meal prepping and how it works, and then make it your own. But some of my tips that I would highly recommend is number one, having no cook meals on hand. So if you have like that salmon dinner and steak dinner already done in your fridge, that's awesome. And whenever you come home from a late day at work, for example, and you don't feel like cooking, you can just grab it out of your fridge and you're ready to go. But there have been times when, no matter the planning, like maybe your family ate more than you planned for, or maybe you just haven't gone to the grocery store again like you planned, and you're in this pickle where it's like, I don't have any more prep meals. What do I do? I would highly recommend you have no cook meals ready. And that's why I shared the chicken salad recipe with you guys, is because you can have those things on hand. The canned chicken will be good in your pantry. A tub of mayo can last a really long time. You might have year-old mayo that you might need to throw away in your refrigerator right now, myself included. So sometimes we make it last a little too long. Make sure to check the expiration date. But in general, the chicken salad recipe that I shared is a safe bet for a no-cook meal. Another tip I'd have is have a 5-minute snack. So if your meal does take a little bit of prep time, have something to take the edge off. If you're just like, I need to have food now and I'm about to eat a whole bag of chips and maybe 2 bags of Quest protein chips, since they're a little lower calorie. If you want to have a quick snack to kind of take that edge off, the things that I personally go to are my steamed broccoli. The chocolate mousse recipe that I share with you guys is just a blend and go, so it's less than 5 minutes. And it's really sweet and can help your sweet tooth. And the Propel cucumber, so just peeling a cucumber and pouring Propel on it is a great snack to take the edge off. But again, just you can try them, but just figure out what works best for you. And then my third tip is to have 3 frozen meals. So these are my 3 threes. So have 3 no cook meals, or at least have one, but have a no cook meal, have a 5-minute snack, and then the third one is have a frozen meal on hand. So no matter how well you prep for, sometimes you're just not wanting to I don't know, prep an entire meal from scratch. I would highly not recommend you do that unless you feel inspired and have some time and you're not super hungry and don't have hungry mouths to feed. But have some frozen meals in the freezer just in case. So for me, the things that have worked really well is lasagna. So as easy as this is, or as weird as this might sound, going to HEB, sometimes they have those pre-made lasagnas. Buying it and then just putting it in the freezer for a rainy day when you don't have any food in your fridge and you don't know what to do, you can pull that out. It's great for thawing out. Sometimes it has some meat in there, so I would probably also recommend like cutting up some chicken and putting it in one of the layers, especially with maybe picky kids. Lasagna is a great go-to. But then cutting up some chicken and kind of putting it in between the layers can help get some protein in. Another one is cooking a rare steak, very rare steak, and veggies and mashed potatoes. That's another great meal that thaws well. And I'd recommend that you make it rare So whenever you reheat it, it doesn't overcook the meat. That's something that I've played with and found that rare steak does best when thawing. And then another one is just plain old beef patties. So you can even buy them pre-made at the store, beef or turkey patties. But I personally, it's cheaper, and I know what's in it if I just make it myself. But just making the patties, seasoning them up with anything you want, but garlic powder, paprika, things like that are great. And then putting it in the freezer with like baking sheets between them. You can pull that out on a rainy day and thaw it, and then either put it in a salad. I know that Lisa, you have great salad options. If you need any ideas, look at Lisa's pictures. Or if you're feeling like a nice juicy burger, you can also go that route too. So those are my three things I wouldn't go without, no matter how much planning you do and the grocery shopping and like you're ready to go. On a rainy day, those three things come in handy. So no cook meal, a quick 5-minute snack, and then frozen meals to have on hand. So I know that there was a lot there, and there's going to be a lot to unpack over these next few weeks. But that is my big picture process to meal prep. The things that I do want to talk more about in the weeks to come is, so again, Lavon was asking about travel. What are some options for that? And I want to encourage you guys to see grocery stores as another fast food option. So I know McDonald's is a fast food option, and Sonic is a fast food option. I'd also see a grocery store as a fast food option, as they have like different sandwich options. Sometimes they have like raw salmon and veggies. So maybe not go that route when you're on a road trip, but they have like a rotisserie chicken that you can make into a sandwich. They have little containers of cottage cheese. Good Culture cottage cheese is awesome for a road trip. If y'all have heard of Good Culture, they have like little pineapple chunks and strawberry chunks, and it's really sweet, but it doesn't have a lot of added sugar. It's really from the fruit they add in there. So that's an awesome option for road trips as well. Something that I also like to do is they have little like juice bottles. I also like to add some juice into like Fage yogurt. So like a berry juice into like a little Fage plain yogurt container if I want to add some sweetness there. So there are some ideas to see the grocery stores as a fast food option as well whenever you're on the road. But we can talk more about road things, or if you're in a different country and don't know what to eat, or you're on the road all the time, we can talk more about that as well. And then something that Robbie brought up is, okay, so he's been doing the meal prep thing for a bit, and it can get a bit repetitive if you just make a bunch of beef and a bunch of chicken and some veggies. How many ways can you have the same chicken and veggies? And so one way to do that would be, or one way to kind of change things up, is to have fun again with the sauces and different garnishings. So yeah, I can give y'all a couple of ideas on different sauces, glazes, things like that. But then garnishes, pickled things normally are lower in calories. If you're trying to watch your calories, you don't need to really think about the carb or protein or fat portions on those. And then having fun with new and different veggies as well can be a fun way to change things up. But something that I'll share with you guys again in the weeks to come is different ways to spice up the same thing. So my go-tos are, so like if I make a bunch, and I think Jason, you do this, like you just make a bunch of like the meat and have the meat on hand. I personally do that with like my ground beef. I can just make a whole tub of ground beef. It's pretty generic. So I just use like maybe a little bit of chili powder, paprika, garlic, very mild seasonings like that. But then I can make a bunch of different things with that same ground beef. So one day it'll be in a taco, another day it'll be like in an omelet scramble. Another day it'll be in a casserole or like a lasagna. I really like Lisa and Jason's no pasta lasagna. So with like the rotel, that looked really good. So I know I'm gonna give that a
Yeah, it's
try.
really good.
Yeah, that looked so good.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try that with just the batch beef. But yeah, definitely would have so think about the proteins that you want to have and the carbs you want to have and the veggies you want to have. I would have at least 2 proteins in the fridge and 2 carbs in the fridge ready to go, and then you can spice it up different ways, just like in different tacos or lasagnas or egg scrambles. So those were, or different salads too. So those are just a couple of ideas. But
Can I make a suggestion too?
absolutely.
So another good thing to make, and you can meal prep it if you want, is shish kebabs.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have beef, you can have pork, you can have vegetables. You can also do like
Yes.
pork and pineapple. You know, you can put jalapenos on it, any kind of colored peppers, purple onion,
Right.
yellow onion. And
I
it's
think
good to reheat too. And you can
exactly.
cut it all up and you can put it in a, scrambled eggs. You could cut it all up and make some lentils or quinoa and make you a protein bowl. So that's kind of versatile too, doing the shish kebabs.
Right. Yeah.
You get
I
your
think
vegetables.
I think variety is key. And so it's really fun to have different arrangements of like, okay, yeah, one has like you say, like the pork and bell pepper, while one has like the beef and tomato. So you can really, yeah, change it up. And then you can add another layer and have a glaze on one or like a pesto on another. And so you can really change up the sauces on them. I love it. Awesome. Yeah, so that's a great way to get your roasted veggies in and your protein in, and then maybe some fruits as well. Yeah, I love that. Shish
And if
kebabs.
you ever go to a Mexican restaurant, say if, you're celebrating a birthday or you're just going to a Mexican restaurant, a lot of them offer the shish kebab. So you can still
Right.
go to the Mexican restaurant, but just order the shish kebab and not the enchiladas.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. That's something else that I'd love to help build out is having some go-tos for yourself no matter where you go. So like for me, I know my go-tos for Mexican food, I'll have to add shish kebabs to that list, but like beef fajitas are a go-to for me for any kind of Mexican food. So yeah, having those go-tos is a great thing to start doing. So I also put out like 3 different entrees at Volari's restaurant that's in Brenham. So if whenever y'all are kind of mapping out your week and you know that you want to eat out at a restaurant and you're looking over the menu and you don't know what to get, you can always message me the restaurant, and I can give you some general tips for like any Italian food or any um, American food. I can give you any tips for that and then look at the specific menu and then maybe give you some options if you want. So you can always reach out to me for that. Sweet. So we covered a lot on meal prep, but I wanted to make sure, Janet, did that give you some ideas or do you have any more? Um, I know that was kind of big, high level, but do you have any questions about meal prepping based on what we talked about so far?
No, it's some good ideas. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. So, yeah, and I know it can be a bit repetitive, especially I think I related to you, Lisa, whenever I was kind of back and eating kind of the same old. It was just like a meat salad, and that can sometimes get a little like boring. But I do love romaine lettuce and I do love meat, so I'm happy I get to eat that every day. And especially now that veggies are so scarce, it's driving me crazy. And now all I want is a good, like your salads look so good. But I know it can get very monotonous and repetitive. So Um, different ideas to kind of spice things up is to like play with different veggies, and I know that that can get kind of um, like there are only so many veggies that you might like, but then cooking them different ways. So like roasting things, air frying things. I really find air frying spinach or kale can be really fun, and like seasoning it up, and so it's really crunchy. So those could be other things that you play around with. And then roasting bell peppers. So bell peppers raw are great, and I eat them with sriracha and I love it. But roasting them brings out like this really nice sweetness and juiciness. And same thing with cherry tomatoes. If you air fry cherry tomatoes, it's a really fun like sweetness bomb. Like whenever you bite into it, it just kind of explodes in your mouth. So it's really fun. So I would encourage you to maybe try different ways of either preparing the veggies or seasoning them up if you are craving that variety. But I do love Dodi's idea of the shish kebabs too, where you can still have your meat and your veggies, but like different alternations or different combinations, different glazes on them, or vinaigrettes. That can be a really fun way to change it up as well, have some variety. Because boring is predictable, and it can be easily planned, and your meals don't have to be, spectacular to be a successful home cooked dinner. Uh, but if you've been doing this for a while, it can get a bit monotonous. So those are some ideas to kind of change things up if you're looking for a variety. Um, but take home message, the meal prep, you don't have to be Gordon Ramsay. You can just prep 2 proteins and 2 carbs, and have different combinations, different sauces, try shish kebabs, and then always have a fallback plan if your meals that are prepped are running low or out. So having some no cooked meals or some freezer dinners ready to go would be a great thing to have in your back pocket.
One thing I was going to say, if I could,
Yeah.
Michelle. So for me, y'all know I eat a lot of meat. To get my protein each day, it's for me, it's I think 240-ish grams. And that's a lot. So I'm eating a whole lot of meat, and I can't eat a whole lot. I don't really like vegetables a lot anyway, but so I do green beans. I'll try to throw it in there or something. But to get all that meat in, I have to get a lot of meat. So it's kind of a challenge. That's why I'm eating so much. And then the protein chips and all that, just to get that number up. Because that's what I'm thinking mainly each day is, am I going to hit my protein? I know I'm doing okay with the fats and calories, but that's been the challenge for me, is getting all that protein in. Several protein shakes a day and all that.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
helped. I mean, I've seen the progress, right? Having that protein where it needs to be and recovering better, from workouts and all that. So that's
Yeah,
just
I've noticed protein is hard to come by around here. I mean, I guess just the portions are super small. So I've been my go-to has been the ready to go like chickens. I actually have some right here in my fridge, but just like these, you can buy them at the 7-Eleven or Family Marts. So it's already cooked chicken, and they have different seasonings. So I've tried different flavors and things, and I have different powders I like to put on top. But yeah, a meal here is typically half of this chicken, if not even less. So it's been pretty hard to find to get enough protein in. And I've noticed whenever I don't get enough protein, that things like this really I get much more of a sweet tooth. So this is matcha chocolate. So my sweet tooth kind of climbs whenever I don't get enough protein. So yeah, while you're hitting your nutrition goals, definitely learn about yourself. I've learned a lot. Used to be back at home, it would be really easy to get enough protein because I'd have a rotisserie chicken, and I'd have a big roast beef, and I love my cottage cheese, so it's fine. But my sweet tooth has never been higher, I would say, not in the last like several years. So that's something interesting that I've learned about myself too. So if you're noticing like your sweet tooth is kind of increasing, talk to me about it. We can look at how much protein you're getting in and how many carbs and fats you're getting in, how you're feeling, and we can change things up and see how it goes. So y'all have had your nutrition plan for a couple months now, to where now could be a time, if you've been kind of sticking with it, noticing patterns, I would love to have fun with you and tweak some things and then see how you respond and see how it goes. So one example could be like, for example, your sweet tooth. Like my sweet tooth is really increasing, and I'd like to maybe play around with that, and we can change your portions and then see how it goes. But there's an idea. If you want to take the next step, or if you're seeing a plateau or a stall, we can also look at your portions and go from there. All right. Okie dokie. Well, thank you guys for showing up. If you have any more questions about meal prep or want some more 5-minute snack ideas, for example, always reach out to me. But here for you guys. Ask me any questions, and yeah, message me with any questions y'all have. And then y'all won't be seeing many more weird food items. So we're in our last week here in Japan. So today I had some cartilage, and I don't think I had any raw meats of any kind, but I'm trying to live it up while we're here. Because I'll go back to normal food very soon. But thank you guys so much for showing up.